Hey everybody, it's your pal Drew Geraci, and I was thinking about this the other day. During COVID, my dad passed away, and he was he was deep into dementia, and he spent the last 2 weeks inside a home before he passed, and it was hard because we couldn't see him those last 2 weeks. He was restricted because of COVID. So the nurses would do, they would bring him to the window in a wheelchair, and we would wave hi to him, and we could talk through a speaker. And one of the last things he said was, "I've got a good family," and that was so wonderful because he'd been struggling so much the last few years. He kind of became mean-spirited, and that happens a lot with people who go through dementia and or hearing loss, and that's understandable. Here's a picture of him. There he is. Dedicated to my father, Robert Francis Geraci Sr. Every bit handsome and cool as Dean Martin. And he was. He was, trust me. This is a book that I wrote. It's the third in a set of three. The Demands. Terse and Funny Shotgun Prose by Chuck Dixon, no less. The author of Leave on Cade, which became the movie Working Man. And really neat stuff. Lady Kilburn's indie rock band, The Demands, are still plagued by the new generation of Pittsburgh's Russian mob. Laney's ex, the mob's new leader, cast a wide shadow of paranoia and menace. FBI agent Roland Marsh continues to be a thorn in Laney's side. Relationships are strange and danger looms large, but they will find that Laney and the Demands are not an easy kill. Dark humor and dark deeds of an indie band struggle for survival and recognition. This is on Amazon, and it's not how I would write a comic. Oh yeah, I designed this. Actually, Chuck helped me design this a while back with the colors, but I made it look like a ticket stub from the old days. And so it's available on Amazon, all three of them. No audiobooks, unfortunately, yet. But it's pretty rude, vulgar. It's got a lot of dark humor in it, and it's got a lot of I wouldn't write a comic book this way, but a kick-ass novel like this I would. So I just wanted to share that with you. And if you want to buy it and you don't want to read it, you could use it as a coaster for your for your pop, or you could use it to straighten out a table. I don't care. Just buy it. So anyway, we'll get back. Dear old dad, he was 31 years old when I came around, and my mom was a little younger than that, but there was back then there was a bigger generation gap because most men went off to war, and they came back in the late 20s, and they just didn't. The kids were like seen and not heard. That was a very common phrase, and a lot of times parents didn't take kids seriously, and it wasn't like it was frustrating, but it was sort of like an accepted thing at the time. I'm not saying it was a great idea, but family homes were evolving as far as, you go way before that. My grandfather, my dad's side, he was a real, he was like a pirate. He scared the shit out of me. And so, and my dad, and, being Italian and all that, my dad had a bit of a temper and all that, but he never hit me or anything. He just scared the piss out of me sometimes. But what's interesting is in 1974, I've said this a billion times, I spent the summer in Lakeland, Florida with my grandparents in their trailer, and then I came back, and I had a couple of comic books. I got like 5 Marvels and 1 DC, which was a Wonder Woman, and it was pretty dull. But I love the melodrama. I love the action of Marvel books, and I would read this kind of stuff, the hype pages, like that, and they were going on and on. And they were talking about Marvel mags all the time, and I started using that vernacular all the time, Marvel mags. So my dad, he had to go to it's like a, what do you call that? It's on a, it's like an outdoor mall. It's shopping, shopping center or whatever. And we went by National Record Mart, and there were comics in there, and he had seen that comics had like really lit a fire under my ass to where I had no real big interest before. I was drawing my own comics, even in Florida. So he said there were 3 spinner racks. That's a lot. And he said, hey, go get you some Marvel mags. And I always thought that was it's a fond memory I have. So I got this one, of course. I reviewed this in a previous episode where I just reviewed it, so I'm not going to go over it again. But Luke Cage Power Man, he looked like a badass. A man called Discus. So instead of going to the Olympics, they used their power for good. They were a-holes. So you had Ron Wilson, Vince Coletta, and it's kind of straightforward. It fills you in. I've always loved these 1 or 2 page fill-in draw-in pages, and I know it's old school, but there we go. Real basic stuff. Ron was still wet behind the ears. He was assistant to John Romita Sr. You know what? If Vinny Coletta didn't just like shit this out, it would have looked really great. This was 1974 when double page spreads were just done a normal Marvel page size at original art, as opposed to a page usually like that would be 11 by 17. But to cheapen out, they would actually pay the freelancers 19 pages, and this would count as 1 page. And and the stuff just fuzzed out. There were very few inkers who could work it out. Like Joe Sinnott did a great job on Fantastic Four. So it's just like big, beefy brawler kind of dudes. But you could see some of the Romita adding to. It's just meat and potatoes, and I loved Luke Cage being like just a regular, kind of like a private eye, but hired muscle, and but he was a bit of a detective too. I just loved it. Now, these 2 panels here, one next to my thumb, that's very Romita. So fun stuff. Oh, I love that. All action issues. So Spider-Man, this is a great cover. Oh boy. This is a time where it reprints earlier issues. I loved when it had reprints because it gave me that sense of, wow, there's a history. Wow. I mean, I just couldn't believe what a strong history they had, because this was, I don't know, like maybe 6-7 years later, and it was already high quality. You had John Romita doing tight layouts and Jim Mooney doing the inking, and strong stuff. Very, very strong stuff. And Jim Mooney did Spider-Man for a lot of years. And then when, in the mid-70s to the early 80s, Jim Mooney stayed on Spider-Man. I thought, by then, some people thought his stuff wasn't as strong, but I think he still did okay. And this is like a mix between the Freelancer in me and the hardcore, the Freelancer in me and the fanboy in me. It's like I was really glad that Marvel kept Jim Mooney busy. It like kept him working for years and years and years, because he wasn't quite doing this stuff, but he was close enough. There we go, a little tribute to Spider-Man 33 by Steve Ditko. But I hadn't seen it at the time, so it just really thrilled me. And I got to do an episode on this. How many times are you going to be a sucker in superhero stories? Dr. Kurt Connors turns into the Lizard. Later on he gets better, and then he stresses out later, becomes a lizard. It goes on and on and on. Same thing with the Green Goblin's amnesia. Norman Osborn had amnesia, and it was always like a walking time bomb. And when I guess when a story needed to come out, they were, Stan was maybe dry on ideas. He's like, we'll bring back the Green Goblin. And the same thing happened to Harry when he became the Green Goblin. So, that's kind of wacky. Let me see. I think the last page is... Yeah. See, that's like a simple page, but look how amazing it looks. It could have been a real boring page. It's not. So, these are, my dad told me to get these books, or he said, get some Marvel mags. So I could have gotten a lot more, but I only got 12, which was $3 whole back then. And there were some others I wanted, but I didn't want to appear greedy. I didn't want to, I don't know, it was like I didn't want to take advantage of my dad's, I could have bought more. I don't know why I inhibited myself, so, but, this is more than enough. Bree Severin and Frank Giacoia doing some beautiful stuff. There was about a year where those two worked on the last year of Tales to Astonish Hulk feature. Oh my gosh, that's so good. And sometimes Marie has like a soft texture to her line work, and having something like Giacoia like sharpen it really, really makes it pop. They're a great team. And love that. And he's dragging the rocket. Look how dramatic that is. And he wants basically Silver Surfer to take him to the stars, get away from, Earth. And he said he can't. He's about to cure the gamma rays, but Hulk doesn't understand. Beautiful last page. And now let's reprint Submariner by Dan Adkins, and it's okay. It's okay. It's just sort of there. I've never been a fan of Submariner. Anyway, but it was fun. It was a fun book. Spider-Man, the Grizzly. I mentioned this in my, I think it was one of my episodes of Why Isn't J. Jonah Jameson part. Why didn't he ever go to jail? Because he's always creating these characters. Or he contributes to them. Like he's like, I want you to take out Spider-Man. And I was like, no, don't kill him. I was like, well, I've said this before, Ross Andrew, he would take his own photographs and apply them in the drawing. And that's what made it perfect for Spider-Man. Frank Giacoia and Dave Hunt. Dave Hunt was the assistant to Frank Giacoia and Mike Esposito. And then Dave Hunt became a fantastic inker on his own. So, all this great stuff coming up. There's panels like right here where it looks like Romita touched up. He continued to periodically do faces on model with Peter and MJ specifically. So I love the proportions on that suit. So he's basically he was a wrestler who got kicked out of the ring for fighting dirty. Now, there's a two-page spread that's inked properly. This is on one piece of paper. Frank Giacoia, he's just got that strong style, and it works. See, he done did it right. Look at that. Chrysler Building. Good stuff, good stuff. Captain America became Nomad. I was pretty shocked. One of the books I had that summer was issue 170... I don't know, 176, I think. Anyway, it was 177 when the Falcon went alone. He went on his own to fight crime while Cap had quit and was whining to Sharon. So, love that cover. It's totally crazy, but that's just a storytelling technique. It's fun, Oh my gosh. It's got to be Giacoia again. The Coming of the Nomad. Tom Orzechowski, early lettering job for him. I talked to him very briefly. I worked with him on a project at DC, and I asked him a billion fanboy questions, and he was so nice. So, Madam Hydra becomes the new Viper. She decided to change to Viper. Got the Serpent Squad, so... this is great. I could be a new superhero. Hawkeye told me I don't have to be Stars and Stripe. And what, you want to divide your time between me and your job again? And she does have a point. Why would she be excited when she got to spend time with him for the first time in a while? Nomad. Pretty cool costume. Get off my back. Let's see if there's any famous people in here. There was a lot of fanboys that were like myself. Oh well. How about that for a cover? Wow, let me just zoom in on that bad boy. So Nomad goes on the prowl, takes on Serpent Squad. I only go fast because I've got like 12 books to go through. And one of the most brilliant moments in comics. Nomad trips on his cape, which he never had a cape. And so they can, we can escape, and so they can, as two slightly fuzzy speakers proclaim more and more by Captain America, and the Nomad realizes why Cap wasn't given a cape. Beautiful stuff. Beautiful. Oh, Lordy Lou. What's really funny is how much this marquee type panel hogs up so much real estate. I mean, it's almost a half. It's not even a third. So, but got John Romita there. Got the action. Got Captain America. Got the shield. Gotta get it. Take my money. They didn't see that. Kirby. This is very much like a. It's kind of like the famous Batroc battle that happened 2 or 3 itchers. I was reading Richard Ayers ago, so Kirby was just in like a kick-ass mode. This is the Tumbler. He didn't show up again till Englehart and Steve Englehart and Sal Buscema. So that gives you a 1-page origin. I'm going to be best acrobat. I'm going to be smart. Dodging pens. That's really cool. So this isn't the real Captain America. It is the Adaptoid who stole Cap's identity. The Adaptoid gets crushed into the cover, and out comes the real Cap. Ooh, look at that. Can a little kid love anything better than that? And you got Gene Cole as contrast. Oh my gosh. I liked Iron Man too. But here comes dum 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 dum. Cute little, I love that water heater costume of his. And the inking's fantastic. See it for you. Captain Marvel. This is a Ron Wilson cover. It's kind of wonky, but you can tell it's been touched up as well. I just like the cover, and whoa, different, very different style. Alfredo Alcala. And I will confess, I didn't like this art much back then. I kind of grabbed it because of the cover, but now I'm just like, oh, it's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And Rick Jones and Negative Zone, they pretty much explain it very well. RJ, I gotta get initials on my belt. DG. But they might mistake me for, I don't know. Like Dan Green or Dick Giordano or... Beautiful, beautiful art. However, when it comes to superheroes, Alfredo Alcala falls a little short on this page. And especially that panel. It's just very oddly placed. Could have used maybe a little more foreshortening. And it's just some of these panels are dead. Here comes Ant-Man for the first time I ever seen him. And the Wasp. Ooh, #1 Spidey. On the value stand. So, really, really great stuff. Really, really cool. Not quite 100% Marvel style, but I kind of dug it. And when I got X-Men, it had been a reprint. I had not read any newly published X-Men books since I was a kid, because back in 1970, I think, or 69, the book went on reprint with issue 67. And I had an issue or two earlier of this, or I did get couple of them later, but wow, that just grabs your attention. A Job of 7 cover. And so I had to get it. I love the original X-Men costume. I even seen a few issues after this that they had these new costumes, and totally digging it. There's George Tuscan with John Tartaglione, I don't know, but Professor X had died the issue before, It's pretty emotional. It's very well, it's well done. I mean, it's not, the art is servicing the story, but it's not fantastic. Uh, there's the Toad. Here come the X-Men. My cousin was telling me how he hated that the Angel, when he got this new costume, how his hair was exposed because it would kind of give away his secret identity a little more. And I feel that way too to a certain extent. Spider-Man had the right idea. Ditko had the right idea with Spider-Man. So beats them all. But books were only 17 pages at the time, so they stick in this really, really cool old story from Amazing Fantasy 7 by Ditko. Nobody draws more nervous people and claustrophobic imagery than Ditko. So every boy that grew up to be a fanboy of comics loved this issue. I mean, the record had been around for a while with Thor, and but the issue prior, Len Wein had the brilliant idea of creating the Wrecking Crew, which was 3 other cohorts: the Wrecker, Thunderball, Pile Driver, Bulldozer, all those great names too. And here we got right to it. And this is an early Dan Green, and it's really sensational. I love it. Rampage. You got Dave Hunt doing the letter as a letterer. Back then, you learned all kinds of disciplines. You learned lettering, you learned inking, you learned just a lot of different things. And I always thought that was really neat. And but that kind of stuff kind of went away when I was starting to break into business. So let's get some action going. Sal Buscema doing some of his most exciting stuff. And you have the story with the Valkyrie. And we get back to regular. Love that. Love that. I was a 3 sewer stickball man when I was a kid. You mentioned Hank Aaron. Hank Aaron had just broken, the record like right before this, a couple months prior. So this is all directed by, the action is all directed by Sal Buscema. He just does an exceptional job here. And a little bit of I didn't get this, but I couldn't afford it at the time. I was into Quantity. How Kirby-like is that first panel? I love it. So this got more fun. Damn, that's good stuff. Again, a team book, and you have some badass Marvel villains. And I don't mean to bag on DC, but I mean, they had like the Ultra Humanite, was like this ape with this outfit. You had Amazon, which was this robot with a tube top on. And before Grant Morrison made Starro cool, he seemed pretty. And Hector Hammond, he's just a big head. But I know I'm being a total a-hole about that, and I apologize. I do like DC stuff, especially since I worked for them for so many years. They were so good. So, did my voice just turn into Seinfeld? Apparently. Well, who are these people? Dave Cockrum inking. Gil Kane. Wow. This guy was friggin' amazing. So, I'm learning that the swordsman had died. And they go over this. And Joe Staton's inking Sal. And he did so on Hulk for about half a year. And people loved it, but I really didn't like it. I love Joe Staton on his own. It just, inking Sal made it look too cartoony. Too rubbery, I guess. And here's the 2-page spread that was done as one. Staton does a really strong job on this. Really pops. Oh, Dr. Octopus. Let's see. Okay, no famous people. And then all this was so... the Celestial Madonna thing. As a kid, I hated it. And I do have a collection of it from later, much later. But it was just, I don't know. I think there was a little too much of that shit. Because then all of a sudden you get action on, like, towards the end of the book. Ghost Rider. Gil Kane and Tom friggin' Palmer. Man, motorcycles, again, they were a huge thing at the time. You know, dune buggies, motorcycles, muscle cars. That was the American, what do you call that? The American zeitgeist? I don't know. And many of me and my friends would ride our little bikes, and we'd create jumps, and we would wipe out and splatter our face and get blood and gravel in our hands and stuff. But it was fun. It was fun. So, Ghost Rider. I like drawing Ghost Rider when he got the skull cycle, because you didn't have to do all this stuff. So, I mean, right away, there's nothing... Jim Mooney is doing a fantastic job on this. And Sal Trapani is Dick Giordano's cousin, I believe. And he's pretty solid. Wow, look at that. This is some of Jim Mooney's best stuff. Fear, fear. Another 2-page spread done from 1 page. Here we go, baby. Whee! And apparently Satan is tempting. What was it? The possibility of harm being done to Johnny Blaze weighed against the uncertainty of your father's suffering. I don't know. So she has to renounce protection of the Ghost Rider. Wahaha! I'm the devil, Miss Simpson. Everything I say is a lie, including that. But regardless, you've renounced your Johnny Blaze. Pretty sweet. His magic flame bike dissolves. Man, such a good story. Crash. And he happens to be at like a sports shop on his motorcycle. Coincidence, who cares? You know? Good stuff, good stuff. Someone done tore this out. And it goes on and on. And that's pretty good, except what I really don't like, and this is something Tony Isabella was like so pissed off at, was apparently this guy was a Jesus Christ figure, and it was supposed to be Jesus Christ. Now, I mean, I grew up Catholic, and I really wasn't a practicing Catholic, but I knew a little bit about the Bible. But what I didn't like was, it's like when Odin shows up in Thor. It's like this Deus Ex Machina, which means, I think it means God in the machine or Ghost in the machine or something, because it's like, you know, the hero is at his last leg, he's about to die, and all of a sudden somebody shows up and, okay, all good, thank you. So it was just, it also, at the time, Johnny went to Satan to get these powers to save Crash Simpson, who was his father. And, he's like, who are you? I am a friend. And years later, about 2 years later, issue 17 or 19, Jim Shooter changed it to be the devil as somebody else, and he had a fit over, but it really was kind of pointless, because that's my opinion, you know. So, I mean, Jesus is cool and stuff. It's just, you know what I'm saying. This kind of stuff, it's like, do it in like, what is it? Do it in, what's that book? It used to come out. I can't think of the name. I don't know. You know, put it in a, like, I don't know, a religious comic or something like that. Highlights, that's what it was. But, you know, so I kind of shrugged when I saw that ending. Because even as a kid, I thought, oh, that's convenient. This guy just shows up and makes everything better. So, you know, that was like, my dad bought me all those comics. I reread them endlessly. And then I started getting them on the regular. But then again, my grades started slipping because I was too busy drawing and writing my own comics. And my biggest regret in the world is that I didn't keep those. I threw them away when I was like 20, because I was a bitter, sensitive artist who thought, oh, I'll never make any comics. So, pretty lame, I know. Man, these epic collections are awesome. Boy, oh boy. And the only other time, like, my dad really, he never really was involved with comics, but these are just little anecdotes that I've had with him over the years. And I had this on top of my reading pile. And my dad, who usually didn't say anything, he saw that cover and he goes, "Wow, that's a really good cover." And that was it for a while. And then about 2 years later, I'm in the kitchen having breakfast, and I'm reading Comics Journal when they were talking about the Jack Kirby case against Marvel, when they had tens of thousands of his art, and most of it was stolen, and the lawsuit was going on. Frank Miller, who was at the height of his powers, was talking about Kirby's plight. A lot of the industry got behind this. And my dad came in for a minute, and he kind of skimmed the cover, and he's like, "What's that about?" And I explained the situation. And I said, I said, he basically got screwed. And my dad was a businessman. Then I told him about an article where, House of No Shame, oofa. This was Keith Giffen swiping Munoz, like wholesale. Pretty weird. There was also an article about some small publishers. The way they would pay their artists was to send them a check, but on the back of the check we signed, they would put a stamp that would say, if you accept this check and cash it, you will be giving away any of your rights to the characters. And when I told Dad that, he was like, "Wow." He's like, "That's that's good to know." I mean, it was weird because he was impressed. It's like, it wasn't, he wasn't at the comics or anything, but that's about it. So good old Dad, he was pretty cool, and I still miss him. Anyway, have a good day, and I wish you all well. Bye.